I've been working on my city builder game for 3 years, and it's finally time to get it onto Steam. But there's one problem. It is absolutely nowhere near ready to be seen by the world. So today we're going to go on a journey to get it all dressed up and ready for its big reveal. We need to make a Steam page that clearly shows that the game has action and it's exciting, that the game is a city builder, and that it's a bit different from every other city builder that's out there. And spoiler alert, we end up managing to pull it off because the game is on Steam right now. Go and wishlist it, or else. Right now, the game is pretty business as usual. There's nothing really unexpected that comes at you out of nowhere, which is bad news because a good Steam page needs to show that the game has variety, that it's fun and action-packed. And nothing is more exciting than things randomly bursting into flames, so I'm adding fire. Buildings can now catch fire through lightning or just general spontaneous combustion. Some villagers will nobly try to battle the blaze, while others will just panic and abandon their posts to run around like headless chickens. Another action-packed feature that I want to add, inspired by recent catastrophic global events, is disease. Simulating this was actually quite a lot of fun. Initially, 1 or 2 villagers get sick and they can begin spreading the disease to nearby villages. After a certain amount of time, they'll become symptomatic and will abandon their job to visit a healer, and if they don't make it in time... Finally, the last thing that I want to add to show that this game is actually interesting is the weather system. In the final product, this will be controlled by the gods. If you upset them, the weather will get worse, and from there, all hell will break loose. But for now, I'm just getting the visual system working and then, faking it. Of course, now I realize that this list is actually missing something. Can you guess what it is? The huge thing that's holding the game back right now is that it's just plain ugly. First impressions count, and I really want the look of the game to reflect all the work that I've put into how it plays. If you have a fun game, but it looks like shit, good luck getting anybody to give it a go. Now, this is not an easy task. Programming is easy because it's finished when what you're making works, but art is never finished. Also, I don't have a degree in art, so this might be tricky. I started off by playing around with the lighting and the colors a little bit. I've struggled with the color scheme ever since I started the project, but I think what I've landed on here is pretty good. It's nice and warm, but it's also distinct enough from most other city builders that the game will stand out. I also added a subtle fog effect and a dynamic depth of field effect that sort of focuses the camera on whatever's in the center of the screen. Just makes it feel a little bit more cinematic. And finally, the biggest, most impactful change I could possibly make to improve this game. I gave up trying to learn 3D modeling. I finally realized that the effort that it would take to get my artistic abilities to a point where they could do this game justice would be effort better spent on doing what I'm good at, programming. So I've started working with a freelance artist to bring the buildings in the game to life. And in case you're doubting that I made the right decision, here are a few side-by-side comparisons. See if you can spot which models are which. And this has also freed up a whole bunch of time for me to work on the features of the game, which brings me to our next item. City builders are a hugely popular genre on Steam, and I think it's mostly because PC gamers love in-depth simulation games. Now, I am only one man, so I lack the ability to implement a hugely complicated resource simulation with hundreds of resources and supply chains, etc, etc. But what I can do is deliver on the basics of the city builder genre. And from what I can tell, the 2 basic things that every city builder game needs is 1, resource simulation, and 2, the ability to grow and expand your village. More importantly, we need to show in the Steam page that the game has these things. Resource management is a bit of a tricky thing to show off in a screenshot, but I'm going to use the village management pop-up. This is where you can reorder and reprioritize all of the different jobs in the village, inspired by my immense frustrations with a similar system in kingdoms and castles. Hopefully this will be enough to satisfy my potential customers' micromanaging needs. For the village growth, I'll get some time-lapse shots of the village expanding, but to make it look more interesting, I'm going to need a lot of different types of buildings. So I've designed a dozen or so and commanded my artist to get to work on them. They don't even need to be functional for the Steam page, I can literally just place them by hand, but they'll work to get the viewer thinking about all the different types of things that they can build in the game. So now that the viewer knows that it's a city builder game, we have to make sure that they know that it's a little bit different from every other city builder game. Billions of games are released on Steam every day, so you've got to at least try and do something a little bit differently if you're going to stand out. Now, obviously my hook is the religion mechanic in the game. You build temples to please the gods, and you suffer the consequences if you don't. But before I worry about communicating all of that to the player, I need to actually get it working first. This mechanic has gone through so many different design iterations over the years that I've actually kind of forgotten how it works myself. Luckily, past me learned how to comment his code, so really it's just a matter of polishing up the system to get it ready for the world. It's still not perfect, but in case you haven't noticed already, most of what I'm doing here is sort of smoke and mirrors to cover up the work in progress state that everything is still kind of in. So now we finally had everything ready to make a Steam page, and the only thing left to do was to actually make it. First things first was getting some proper capsule art and a logo made, and there is no way in hell I was going to do something that important myself, and thank God I didn't, because there's no way I could have made something that looks this good. There's a lot of shit that you need for a Steam page, but the most important things are the screenshots and a trailer. And it's one thing to make a game that has action, is exciting, and has a unique hook, and it's an entirely other thing to communicate that on a Steam page. For the screenshots, we can go with some simple gameplay shots, some UI shots to show off the intricate details, details, and then of course some shots of the more interesting aspects of the gameplay. It's important that you show a little bit of diversity in the screenshots, because otherwise the game will look like it lacks depth. For the trailer, I really wanted to show the entire gameplay loop to show to the player what the game actually is, but the problem is that the whole religion thing is actually pretty complicated. Certainly a difficult thing to show off quickly and in an understandable way. I figured the best way to start would be with some introductory shots of the island and then the basic gameplay showing growing a village. Then we can ease that into a temple being built and dedicated. So in the opening seconds of the trailer, we've already established the genre and shown that the game has something unique about it. From there, we can communicate the religion mechanic by having the god appear, watching the slider go up, and then earning a miracle. Then a cheeky little bit of exposition text before all hell breaks loose. I figured this does a good enough job of showing what you'll be doing in game and showing all the challenges that you'll be contending with without over-explaining anything or having to cough up any of the finer details that I still actually haven't figured out myself. So after signing up for Steamworks and coughing over a cool 100 USD to Papa Valve, well, that was it. It was time to go. Years of work come to a head. Part-time work admittedly, but anybody who's ever made a game can tell you about the ridiculous amount of effort that it takes. The Steam page is up, and you can go and wishlist it right now, which you absolutely should do. Thank you for all of your support along this long and arduous journey. There is certainly still a lot of work to do, but seeing the Steam page actually up and live and able to be wishlisted really makes it all feel real, and it has certainly given me a renewed drive to see this project through to completion. Thank you again, and thank you for watching.